All right, CC, we know there is a big difference between the way a team looks on paper in July and the way a team looks in September when the season starts. What is the key to the Rams being Super Bowl contenders?
Well, they can't look on paper like their defense did last year. Their rush defense, it was actually a paper defense. Not their roster was on paper, like it was not very good. It's hard for a team to be Super Bowl caliber and to be as weak against the run. Because if you want to, how you gonna ground that offense they have? Don't give them the football. And with that lack of rush defense that they had last year, you're talking about problems. You're talking about time of possession. You're talking about wearing out a defense. So Ndamukong Suh, resources right there in the middle. Don't look at Ndamukong Suh's sacks this year. Look at where they go from a rushing team, where they were last year compared to this year's team. I think that's probably the best stat to understand what this defense is doing. Linebacking core, very, very suspect, and even some question marks as far as their secondary in the middle of the field, their free safety, who's going to play that position for him. So there are some question marks in Los Angeles. I know, man, LeBron went to L.A. and Ndamukong Suh went to L.A. Like right now, the Lakers and the Rams, very, very exciting. But Super Bowl or maybe NBA championship, maybe a player or two or a season or two away from those expectations.
Here's why I think the run defense is going to be drastically better. Ndamukong Suh, when he was peak Ndamukong Suh, it was not because of the pressures he was getting on the quarterback. It's because those were an added bonus. It was because he was the league's single best run defender, at least in my estimation. I thought his time in Detroit, he was the best run defender in the league. Let me add this to it. If you can play more man-to-man, shouldn't your run defense get a little bit better? If you have Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters, and you can trust them out in man-to-man, can't you dedicate a better portion of your personnel to your run defense up the middle of the field?
In theory, you can do that, but you also set yourself up when you're in man-to-man. The defensive backs have their back to the running back. If he clears the box, if he clears the line of scrimmage, you are talking about a big play. So you're talking about Wade Phillips. What is he going to decide to do? Last year, some of the big runs they gave up, guess what they were doing? The DBs were chasing the guy, and the running back just followed them down the field. So there's a balance there with Wade. How do they play with this man personnel they have with Talib and the other corner from Kansas City, Marcus Peters? How do they make these guys play zone because it helps the defense compared to helps them individually?
And they even have a good nickel corner, right, in Roby Coleman. Like here's the thing with the Rams. I have questions about Jared Goff being more than a dinker and dunker. And I know that last year, I think it was 8 yards per attempt, so that doesn't feel like dinking and dunking. A lot of that's run after catch. I saw him miss Sammy Watkins a ton last year on deep balls. They bring in Brandon Cooks, who that's his specialty, right? Like being able to take the top off the defense. But this is a team, aside from, I would say, questions at inside linebacker and tight end, they've got near elite level talent every level of the football field. We know how good Todd Gurley is. When you look at their rankings, you're like, wow, 28th in rush defense, that is a flashing red light. And I understand that part of it. But if Goff takes another step forward, because he took an enormous step year one to year two, this team is on par talent-wise with the Eagles and the Vikings in the NFC, and I think those are the two most talented teams in the NFC.
The biggest difference between them and the Eagles is how good they're on the offensive line. All right, the Rams, they got Whitworth last year from Cincinnati. He helped solidify that offensive line. But when we talk about, especially Philadelphia, their great offense and defensive line, not only their starters, but the depth for which they have. Also, this Rams, their roster, their starters are good, but their backups don't have a whole bunch of backups that you know about. So if their frontline guys get hurt, what will they go to? For me, besides the defense trying to improve on rushing, their intermediate passing game, I believe, in Jared Goff, I expect in year three for him to be able to make that step. The offense coordinator and the head coach did a tremendous job of getting him comfortable, and I expect Brandon Cooks to be a better deep threat because he's more decisive and he's easier to read and run his routes than Sammy Watkins is. There's a reason why Sammy Watkins has bounced around to 3 teams. Brandon Cooks was very, very successful last year with Tom Brady. I believe a lot of the concepts, what they did offensively for New England, they will do them with the Rams for Brandon Cooks.
This is a team that was already tracking upwards last year that added bits and pieces to both sides, that's got tons of speed. just a lot of positivity heading in. He doesn't know about Super Bowl contending. How far does this team go?
Listen, I think that their best case scenario is they win the Super Bowl. Like, that's their best case scenario. They're a team, like you said, that was a playoff team last year. That was a dangerous playoff team, I thought, last year, even though it didn't look it in their playoff loss against Atlanta. And they added a Pro Bowler at wide receiver, 2 Pro Bowlers at corner, and a Pro Bowl caliber player on their defensive line. Like, I think they did more than that in bits and pieces. I think they added more quality personnel in the offseason than any other team in the league. Will the quarterback regress? How much can they shore up that run defense, which was their biggest weakness last year?
All right, let's take a break. Go back to some basketball on the other side. Coming up, why Kawhi Leonard might be traded sooner than later. Next.
Mbappe is the star of the game. Listen, Belgium, you could make the argument it's the best team left in this tournament. I think they're running up against the only team left in this tournament better than them in France. I think at all 3 levels they're great, and so I think it'll be an epic game. That not a lot of hanging back and just trying to defend. I think a lot of attacking football.
No, definitely a lot of attacking football. You also have to remember in the semifinals, everyone has a clean slate, so there's no yellow cards. So France will try to get Mbappe into space to try to create, because that's where he has the advantage. But with no yellow cards, look for him to be on the ground an awful lot. So watch the theatrics in soccer, which they bring, because it's going to be probably the most physical match that we've seen.
And when Cece says no yellow cards, people don't know if he's checking the World Cup. If you get yellow cards in back-to-back games, you're suspended for the next game. You don't have to worry about that in this round.
In the semifinals, you have a clean slate.
They might have to spin guys for the World Cup final.
You can still get a red card.
Correct. Unless you get a straight red or 2 yellows.
Kawhi's not going there. Based on my conversation with the people, Kawhi's not going.
Even though if he were there, he would get to guaranteed to see you at least once a year. That's not enough of a draw.
Man, Kawhi ain't interested in seeing me. No one with the Spurs right now. No, only thing he want to see is Los Angeles, Hollywood, the hills, my friend.
Moving on to Jaylen Brown. Despite scoring 14 points a game last season and turning a number of heads, Jaylen says he isn't too good for Summer League and will consider playing a couple games despite the risk of injury. CC, is this a smart move?
Well, it's not a matter of it being a smart move. You want younger players who want to play. We've seen in professional sports where a lot of guys, they don't love to play. They don't love to compete. I like the attitude of the young player. Had a great regular season and even had a better postseason where him and Jaylen, Jason Tatum, both of them scored more points than they did during the regular season. So very, very productive, exciting future for the Boston Celtics.
But Brown was excellent in the playoffs until that Game 7, and I understand why he wants to get that taste out of his mouth, but he is flatly too good to play in Summer League. Like that, it is too much of an injury risk, and he is too good. The guys in Summer League are the guy we was talking about in the last highlights, Chris McCullough. He's been in the league 4 years, trying to finally get it established. Not a guy that is a fringe all-star potential down the line.
Maybe Houston can send Melo to the league, just showing how to play some defense.
Just all this hate. First of all, I do love that sometimes Jenna, after someone has a diss, she does. You remember those old Batman?
Yeah, that's where it came from.
Someone would throw a punch and be like, "Bazinga!"
Wait, that's exactly what I was.
I know. I know. Did I've been working with you for a year? I knew what you were doing. I wasn't sure the audience knew, so I was trying to be a little translator there. Listen, Kyle Quinn says the Knicks. It ain't great when the players the caliber of Kyle O'Quinn decide, you know what? I got flames for you, New York. I don't want to be here. I want to be playing for more than ping pong balls, so I'm going to Indiana. Like, it ain't great. Now, the Knicks have some interesting young talent, but they are playing for ping pong balls this year.
Kyle O'Quinn, gentlemen, do you know what he was known for this year with the Knicks?
Tell me.
Going to a dang on bar mitzvah. That's what he got the most publicity for going to a bar mitzvah. That's what we know about him. Now, I went to a bunch of Knicks games.
I thought you were going to say a bunch of bar mitzvahs.
So did I.
Well, I've been to a bunch of bar mitzvahs and everything. I'm cool with the tribe. I'm cool with them. I'm down with that. Bar mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs. I do both, Jenna.
Wow, CC. That's okay.
He was mad. He ain't gonna be able to do nothing of them in the hurt his pocket.
All right. Whatever. Finally, LeBron James took some time off from his vacation to officially sign his new 4-year, $154 million deal with the Lakers. He even took a picture with his agent, Rich Paul, and Lakers GM Rob Pelinka to capture the moment. Nick, what's the ceiling for LeBron and the Lakers if they don't acquire another star this offseason?
Oh, so this is interesting. The ceiling for the Lakers is presently constituted, is the question, right? The ceiling for the Lakers as they are right now.
Yeah, that's what I said.
It is, but we don't have anyone else yet.
No.
There's no Kawhi.
I think it's because so much of the Lakers discussion has been about if they get another Damian Lillard, if they get
right. As it looks and stands right now.
Looks right now, I would say the ceiling is with a good draw in the playoffs, the Western Conference Finals. I would say the ceiling is losing to the Warriors whenever they play them in the playoffs. Could this team, when I say a good draw, they get the 2 or the 3 seed, could this team make it to the Western Conference Finals? Sure. Like, that's the ceiling. I saw LeBron with worse teammates last year, and I understand the West is tougher than the East, but I saw LeBron go through a Raptors team that would have finished high. Even if they wouldn't have gotten 59 wins, they would have been a 50-win team out West, go through them. I saw him go through a Celtics team that even without their 2 stars in the playoffs, they had been outstanding at home and great defensively the entire year and postseason. So the ceiling to me would be the Western Conference Finals if they don't add another star.
I'm going to make my ceiling be a little bit lower. This team hadn't been in the playoffs in 5 years. Now, they have one of the greatest histories in the NBA. LeBron is trying to raise the 17th banner for the Los Angeles Lakers. They have won 16 trophies. So, to me, getting back into the playoffs, if they were like OKC, where they lost in the first round, I would think that would be a successful season. Them back in the playoffs with this young collection of players having a successful regular season and being in the playoffs, LeBron first, and gearing up for free agency 2019, I think that's the ceiling for them. I think going to the semifinals or the finals in the Western Conference, that's a little pie in the sky at this point.
I'd be remiss if I didn't just ask, if they did get Kawhi, do you see them beating the Warriors?
So, by the way, I think that's exactly what I was about to say. I think their ceiling is the same. I think the ceiling is losing to the Warriors. This team, with or without Kawhi, with or without Damian Lillard,
the Warriors this year.
Absolutely, is losing to the Warriors.
All right, well, speaking of Kawhi, CC.
And he's going from a dominant franchise over the last 20 years compared to a dominant franchise over the last 40 years. I don't see the balance of power switching in the West. LeBron has decided to come to the West, so the power is still in the West. No, I don't believe Kawhi changing because I believe there's only one destination. That's Los Angeles, that being with the Clippers or being with the Lakers. So I don't see a huge...
Even though we all believe that Kawhi Leonard is eventually going to be a player for one of the Los Angeles teams, if he were to be traded out east, it would have dramatic shifts to me on the balance of power. If Boston were to just say, you know what, screw it. We're going to go all out against Golden State this year. Maybe Boston thinks, you know what, Boogie made them worse. They're going to be worse defensively, not going to be better offensively. He's going to be a locker room distraction. They can get got right now. That Kawhi added to Boston gives Golden State the closest competition. I think they would be a better team than Houston was last year, and Houston took them 7 games. If Kawhi goes to Philly, now I already think Philly next year will end up being the best team in the East, but if Kawhi goes to Philly, they are clearly next year the best team in the Eastern Conference. I feel the same way if we talked about the Toronto thing earlier, as pie in the sky as that is. Listen, Kawhi Leonard is a franchise-altering player, and so I don't think it's fair to always do the can they beat Golden State, because we don't know that anyone can beat Golden State. We don't know that anyone in the history of basketball would beat this Golden State team. But could he change the hierarchy? The only place that he would go this year that's on the possibilities that I don't think would that I think wouldn't cause ripple effects in the NBA is if he went to the Clippers. Because I just don't think the Clippers have enough talent to make them anything interesting. Could he make them a playoff team? Sure, but I don't think to do any real damage.
Do you really believe that going anywhere in the East will shift anything or change anything with how stacked and how powerful the West is, and not even to mention the Golden State Warriors?
Well, you only got to beat one
Boston
team.
and Philadelphia, those two teams, absolutely. Man, Golden State wouldn't want to see that. They wouldn't want to see Kawhi because none of those other teams have an answer for KD. Boston and Gordon Hayward's no answer for KD. KD gonna shoot right over top of his little moose thing he's got, no matter what kind of hairstyle he got going next year. Flip over, part, whatever. He's got a great hairstyle. It's no fun.
Nice hair. He's got great hair. Yeah,
yeah. But let me tell you, KD's gonna shoot right over the top. Basketball fans know the impact of Kawhi. And if he was able to join those teams, it would change things. But Kawhi, in meeting with Pop gave him every indication that he was going to trade him, and he was going to try to make Kawhi happy. I never said that before because I was holding it till now. So all these discussions about Kawhi going to the East, I believe Popovich is trying to accommodate Kawhi and trying to please him.
But that is listen, that's very noteworthy and newsworthy because a lot of people have said that initially the Spurs were like, we're going to trade him anywhere but the West Coast. We're going to trade him anywhere but the Western Conference.
Because logical thinking is, why would the Spurs want to help Kawhi out when he doesn't want to play there anymore? So why would we give in to what he wants?
Because if you do help him, you're going to fetch the best of talent and picks. All right? Because why would Philadelphia and Boston give him 2 starters and 2 picks? Why? When he's only going to be there for 1 year if he shows up. You can't guarantee me Kawhi is going to show up at your facility. If you Boston, you Philadelphia, and you trade for him today.
I was going to say, if you know that he's going to the Lakers and he wants to play with the Lakers, what incentive do the Lakers have to give up a ton
an extra year?
To get
year with him and
get him now with LeBron. LeBron's going to be 1 year older next year.
And because the Lakers don't know he's going there. The Lakers know that in a year he wants to be in Los Angeles, but they do have the additional team in the market. But the point that, because you hadn't said that on TV, but you and I had talked about this, that Pop was, from your understanding, very judicious with his words. Listen, I am going to try to accommodate your request, but it cannot be at the expense of the Spurs.
No.
And so
I got a job to do.
I got a job to do.
And the number one thing is,
go ahead,
make sure that I replenish the talent and leave this franchise that they are going in the right direction. That's my responsibility to San Antonio Spurs.
So the point that I'm making is we know the Clippers don't have the assets. If the Lakers are stubborn, if the Lakers just flatly say, we are not including Brandon Ingram in any trade, we think he is an all-star, we think he's going to be an all-star quickly, we would rather sacrifice a year without Kawhi to keep him and then get Kawhi on the back end, if that happens, then the East Coast is available. Because then the best option, the best trade might come from Philadelphia, might come from Boston. Now, those teams reportedly recently, Boston was not even including Jaylen Brown. Philadelphia was not even including Markelle Fultz. If things change, we have to be open to the possibilities that next year, I feel like I'm only confident there's one place Kawhi Leonard will not play basketball next year. That's San Antonio. Everything else is at least theoretically still possible. And would that change the balance of power? Of course. It would take the Spurs out of any type of contention, and almost any team he goes to me, it would make them contenders within their conference, and if it's the right team, a theoretical threat to Golden State.
Can't believe you think he's going to Toronto. That's just crazy.
Yeah, that's exactly
hot takes. Coming up, will Boogie Cousins' adjustment to the Warriors be harder than people think? Special guest to discuss next on First.